When you're first getting started with YNAB, the budgeting screen is pretty confusing. Heck, I've seen longtime YNAB users get tripped up by the different columns and have trouble remembering what each one means. And if you're struggling to understand what you're looking at when you log into YNAB, this video is for you. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to take you through each one of these columns, talk about when to use it, what it means, and how it relates to the envelope budgeting method that you might be familiar with. Plus, stick around to the end because I'm going to show you a free tool that you can add on to YNAB that's going to make this budget screen even easier to understand. Alright, so right off the bat, if you have not seen my YNAB for Beginners video, I highly recommend checking that one out first. It's going to give you a quick overview of the whole system, how I set up my groups, my categories, the goals, my accounts. It's going to give you a rundown of the whole thing. Whereas in this video, I'm just going to be focused on this budget screen, and I'm going to be focused on talking about these three columns and how they work. To help you understand this, I'm going to use the metaphor of the envelope budget, because if you can understand how each part of YNAB works, just like the traditional envelope budget method works, you'll have a better grasp of YNAB as a whole, because ultimately YNAB is just simply a digital version of the envelope budget. So let's jump in. We're going to get started from going left to right. Now for this example, I'm going to be using groceries throughout the video. So I'll go ahead and delete this groceries category and we'll start over. So if I was going to create a groceries category, I would go here and type in groceries. And this is the equivalent of pulling a brand new envelope out of our bin and writing groceries on the outside of the envelope. What we did right here when we created this category is we just created a new envelope, a place for us to store money and set it aside to later be used for groceries. Now, if you've watched any of my other YNAB videos, you'll know that I tell you to create goals for every single category, or envelope in this case. The way we do that in YNAB is by clicking on groceries, coming over here to the right, and saying this create groceries goal. For this case, we're going to choose a monthly funding goal, and it's going to be $500. Now, right now, when we say goal, we're not actually putting any money into this envelope. This is the equivalent of taking a pen and writing $500 per month on the outside of the envelope. Essentially, a goal in YNAB is just a plan. We said that we have an envelope that has groceries on it, and now we are planning to budget $500 a month for groceries. We haven't actually budgeted $500 yet. We've just made a plan to. At this point, you've got your envelope created, you've written groceries on the outside of it, and you've written how much you would like to budget each month to this envelope. Now we're ready to actually start budgeting money into that envelope. So let's say that you got paid last Friday. So your employer is to be budgeted, of course. And let's say that you got paid $2,000. So now, of course, when we go to the budget, we're going to have this $2,000 up here, and we're ready to actually put money into this envelope. You've got a couple ways you can do that. You can, of course, just type 500 right here, which would be your budget for the month. You can also click right here, type 500, and then say move 500 down to the groceries category and hit OK. Either way, what you're doing when you type in this column, the budgeted column, is you're saying, I now physically possess money in my checking account, and I would like to set that money aside, or part of that money. I would like to set $500 of that money aside to be used for groceries. I'm essentially taking $500 and stuffing it into the groceries envelope. This is where I've seen a lot of people get confused because they think that once they set their goal and then they go into like, oh, okay, I'm going into June, and they're confused because they don't see $500 here because they think, well, I set a $500 goal. And that's where I want you to understand that the goal is over here. The goal is just the plan. The goal is what turns this thing yellow and says, hey, you need to budget some money here. And so when we actually take money from to be budgeted, that means we physically possess it and we're sticking it into the envelope and setting it aside. It's not until we stick money here that we actually have set aside money this month for that category. Is this making sense so far? If it is, please go ahead and leave me a comment down below and just tell me if this envelope metaphor for YNAB is kind of working for you and making sense. I want to make sure that these videos aren't actually helping you and are working for you. So leave me a comment, let me know. Now we're ready to move on and look at this activity column. This is one that you're not going to actually do anything with. You're not going to move money into it or take money out of it. It's more just tracking and letting you know what you've done for the month. So as an example, let's say that we use our Discover card and we go to Walmart today and we spend and buy some groceries and we buy $100 worth of groceries. Now we can go into our budget and see that in the activity column, we have $100, which makes sense. And what's nice is we can actually click on this and it will show us a list of all the transactions this month that have been done in this envelope or in this category. Now, let's say we went to the grocery store again and we add another transaction. Maybe this time we go to Publix. Of course, we're going to do groceries. And let's say that we spend $50 at Publix. Save, back to the budget. And now in the activity column, we have a total activity this month of $150 spending out of this grocery category. When we click here, we can see both the Publix and the Walmart transaction. Now for a category like groceries, the available column looks pretty straightforward. You've budgeted $500 this month. You have used $150 at Publix and Walmart, which means that left in the envelope, you have $350. This column literally tells you how much money you have in this envelope that's set aside to be used for groceries. It's like opening up the envelope and looking inside. You actually could have a higher available amount than you do in the budgeted column, which seems counterintuitive based on this example, but this happens pretty regularly if you're rolling over the available amount that's left over month to month and letting this category build up over time. For instance, I typically try to let my auto maintenance category build up. So let's say that I actually had some money in here to start with. Put 1,000 in there, change this date to April, save. So let's say that I budgeted $50 to this auto maintenance category in April. Now when I go into May, I'm going to have $50 in here already. That's because it's left over and still in the envelope from when I put it in there in April and I just didn't use it. And then if I budget another $50 in May, now all of a sudden I have $100 that's sitting in my envelope in the available to be spent, even though I only budgeted $50 to that envelope this particular month. The key to this whole conversation is remembering that all these accounts on the left-hand side tell you where your money in YNAB is physically located. I physically have $29.50 in the checking account and currently physically owe $100 on the Discover card. This is your kind of real life where money's at stuff. This is all of these accounts combined and just tells you the jobs of these dollars. It tells you the envelopes that those dollars are in. So if you're ever getting confused, I want you to think about the envelope metaphor. This groceries category right here, that's just an envelope that says groceries on it. When we click on it, we see that we have a monthly goal of $500. That means we wrote on the outside of the envelope, hey, we want to put $500 in here. Then when we got paid, we actually took $500 and stuck it into the envelope. Then we spent $150, and now when we open the envelope and look inside of it, we currently have $350 available to spend. That's what these three columns mean. Okay, now I told you to stick around because I'm going to show you a free tool add-on that will make YNAB even more powerful. So there's a free tool called Toolkit for YNAB. Highly recommend you check it out. It's a Google Chrome extension. It also works in Firefox, but it's totally free. A bunch of developers have come together and man, it's fantastic. Now it's pretty complex. It adds a ton of stuff to YNAB. For this tutorial, we're only going to focus on two things. So like if I come up here and open settings in my toolkit, I've turned a bunch of this stuff on because I'm going to do a future video talking about a lot of these settings, which ones I like, which ones I don't really care to use, what my favorites are, which ones I think are the most helpful. But that's another video entirely on its own. For now, I'm just going to turn this on and then refresh and show you two specific things that I really like about this that'll help you understand this screen. So right off the bat, what you hopefully are noticing is that this Toolkit for YNAB just added this brand new fourth column right here. And now what you'll notice is that it's taken all of our goals that you used to only be able to find by clicking on a specific category, coming over here and looking at the goal that you set. Instead, we have a goal column where it just took all those goals from over here and put them right here in front of us so we can quickly see how much we have planned to spend. Back to our envelope metaphor, we have a groceries envelope. We wrote on the outside that we want to budget $500 for it. Now we budgeted $500 for it, etc., etc. Another favorite thing about this screen is that it's also given us this total monthly goals amount over here in this section, which we previously didn't have. Previously, if you wanted to see how much you were planning to spend, all of your goals combined, you would need to go forward into a month where you didn't have anything budgeted and look at this underfunded amount. Well, now with the Toolkit extension, it gives us our total goals right here, which is really nice because once we set goals for all of our categories, we can quickly see, okay, this is our plan. Our plan is to have a total, monthly goal of $5,091 in June. and we know, pretty quickly whether or not we actually make $5,091. You might notice and think that it's weird that it's changing from May to June, and that's because not every single one of these goals are a monthly funding goal. Some of them are a target category balance by date, which means we're trying to save a certain amount by a certain date, and if I don't fund it for May, then those goals have to get dynamically updated so that I fund extra in June to kind of get back on track. And so in this example, since I haven't funded all of my goals, when I go forward into June, my total goals have now increased because I still have those target category balance by date goals factoring in there as well. All right, so that's how YNAB is just like the envelope budgeting method. And that's how you use the different columns on the budget screen. Be sure to check out my other videos on YNAB in this playlist if you want to get the most out of the app. You can also download for free my Getting Started checklist and my end of month routine checklist for YNAB using the link in the description down below. As always, subscribe to this channel if you're serious about getting ahead with your money. And just remember, I can teach you how to budget, but I can't make you do it. The choice is yours. I'll see y'all next time.